Hi, welcome back. This is Anna May from Accelerated Excellence and True Awakenings. To follow up from our previous video and recording, we spoke about setting some outcomes and how to go about it into a little bit of detail in terms of securing that outcome that you're looking for. And so some of these rules of the unconscious mind that I mentioned in the previous one, there's two of them that I want to focus on today. And so it sort of summarizes in the word consistency, right? So why is consistency important and how does it affect my goals and my outcomes? Now, one of the major unconscious mind's rules that it runs by is that it needs repetition for a new habit to be installed. So when you think about, there's a lot of theory and scripture out there that says it takes 21 days to form a habit. And the reasoning behind that is that it is like planting a seed, a new idea and a new concept, and that seed needs a little bit of time to incubate and to gestate, and then it starts growing. So the more you nurture it, the more you give it water, the more you, again, not obsessively, so you don't want to drown it with water all day long. You just want to make sure that it gets enough attention, so watering it enough for it to support its growth in a positive way. And in order for you to achieve that outcome is to make sure that you do it so consistently. So it's not just watering it once a week if it needs water every day. It's making sure that every day that you are nurturing that new seed, right? So the repetition means that it will take a certain amount of time before the seed is sort of solidly received into the soil, and it starts sprouting a little bit of roots and gets more comfortable and solidifies more. But what we do as human beings with our instant gratification need is we run to the window the next day and we go, where's my tree? I planted the seed yesterday. Why is it not there yet? So it's this consistency, this repetition that it needs, this nurturing so that it allows for it to show up when the timing is right. So the more you nurture it with that focus and attention and do what it is that you think you need to do to achieve that, the more this goal will become a physical manifestation in your world. Now, if you think about an example that I used in the previous recording is if you touch a hot stove and you burn your hand, you certainly don't have to touch it 21 times to realize that that's not really such a good idea. But the intention of this example is to show you that what happens when there is a lot of electrical intensity in the brain. So when neurons that fire together, wire together, if there's a lot of energy, they will wire together a lot quicker. So when there is a pain point or fear or negative emotion, or there's a lot of intensity around something, the mind will link those two together a lot quicker. When you are learning how to do something new and it's not a lot of intensity around it, it's definitely going to need that repetition to feed that energy through that neurological connection in the brain in order for it to become really, really strong. So think of some of, we've got so much fear in the news and the social media and all over around us, and some of it's warranted and some of it's not. So when we focus on constantly being bombarded with fear, it actually gets your focus and your shift in perception to focus on everything else that matches that fear, and then attracts a lot of information into your world around that fear. Now, economy obviously is having a huge impact. Businesses, people not being able to work. So everybody has this fear of survival, fear of not being able to pay their bills or feed themselves, even basic necessities. But if I focus on that fear, all I'm doing is I'm actually building a highway with 5 lanes because it's getting so much traffic. Now, again, I'm not saying stick your head into the sand like an ostrich, if they even did that. It's focusing on what you want instead and making sure that when this goal, this outcome that you want to achieve is being focused on all the time, that gets so much traffic that little one path, maybe it starts off like a footpath, and then it gets so much traffic that it has to be upgraded into a proper road, and then it still gets enough traffic, so now the road has to be upgraded. We need to create more lanes. Like any of the roads in our country, when the minute the traffic increases, they start increasing and upgrading the infrastructure to be able to manage and support that flow of traffic. Your brain is exactly the same. You want to be able to create enough traffic so that this outcome of yours that you're working on becomes your 5-lane highway. Because the second rule of the unconscious mind I want to touch on is that it takes the path of least resistance. So if your fear is the 5-lane highway, if you want to go to the shops, right, you want to go and do some collecting of necessities, and you know that if you go on that specific road, it's going to be congested, full with traffic, it's going to take a long time, and then there's another road that you can travel and there's very little resistance, there's no traffic there. Which one are you going to choose? You're going to choose the one that's the easiest for you to get to your end destination. So with repetition, what we are actually installing into our habits and into our mind is that the more I focus on this, the easier it will become. And so then it becomes the absolute automatic. If that is the 5-lane highway that can handle the traffic, then that's the path your brain's going to focus on. If the fear is getting all the attention, and that's then the part of least resistance, because it's in such a habit of doing, there's nothing stopping me, there's no resistance there, then it's going to automatically start flowing there. But if your goal gets the same amount of attention as what the opposite would be of that fear, and that is your main focus, then you will also start attracting ideas and concepts of how do I actually innovate, how do I do things differently, you know, and where can we, I think what we can all share is that we've recognized how much we are actually needing, and how little we are actually needing, and how much stuff we fill our lives with that are not necessarily necessary all the time, especially in times like this. And when we're in a space where everything flows again, then those things will become important to us again. But at this stage, it's not a necessity, it's a nice to have, not a have to have. So we focus on the have to have. So when you think about your outcome as a have to have, then your mind will give it all its attention, and you will reinforce that new connection in the brain until it becomes the path of least resistance, right? So that's why I said, focus on this goal as often as what you can. Think about that future version of yourself. How do you need to think and act and behave to be that version of you? And start practicing now so that it becomes the path of least resistance, so that it becomes an automatic, so that if a future challenge shows up, because trust me, future challenges will continue to show up for us, that I have built a strategy in a form of a way that has such consistency that it's easy for my mind to choose it as the best option going forward. Instead of being stuck in fear, can I become resourceful? Can I think out the box? Can I think of other ways of solving my problem? You know, can we connect as a community more? And how does that affect me going forward? Do I continue to connect to the community this way, and in a way that supports my outcomes, so that we can collectively come out stronger on the other side? So let's not forget what solves our problems now. Let's continue to use those resources even when the environment that we're in is changed and we don't have as much pressure from the outside and as much fear bombarding our system. So that's the sort of short and long of this recording for today, is just understand why repetition is important so that we can create this path of least resistance, because that's the path your mind's going to take. So go and have a look at those goals again and simplify, become very specific, and make it simple and easy and meaningful for you, so that there's a lot of desire for you to achieve this goal, and focus on it in small and simple ways every single day in order for you to feel motivated to take action towards it. And the more you do it, the more variety you create around solving this problem and achieving this outcome for you, the more you're creating different little routes that travel to this highway that your mind will then get into the habit of choosing as the one that it prefers versus the ones that's no longer serving you. So I hope that was useful, and that you can apply that easy and effortlessly around your goals, and that you can make sure that you focus not obsessively, but just water those seeds enough so that you give them the environment to thrive, and making sure that you are spending enough attention on them to make sure that they actually become a reality in your life, and not just a dream and a wish and a hope, but something that becomes tangible, that you can say, here it is, I've manifested it. Because the minute you create that outcome, the more congruent your belief system would be, the easier it would be for you to follow the path again. And it's like putting a new tool in the toolbox, and one that you know that works. So next time something happens, you can dig your hand into the toolbox and pull out the ones you know that definitely has the ingredients for success attached to it. So see you in the next recording, and be well and be safe.